Welcome to Secrets of Tomorrow's Leaders. My name is Corin Young from RK Studios, and this podcast is brought to you by JCI Santa Clarita. We have two guests here today, and we're going to be talking about a brand new program that our chapter is putting on. It's actually really cool, and I'm excited to talk about it. Sitting at the far end of the table there, we have J.R. Hills, who does quality assurance for a dermatology and pharmaceutical company. He is the former VP of Training and Development for JCI Santa Clarita, and a new father of two. Welcome, J.R.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And in the middle, Carrie McCoy, who's a high school counselor at Mission View Public Charter here in Santa Clarita, and also a parent, a mother of three boys. Welcome,
Yes.
Carrie.
Thank you very much.
I'm so excited to have you guys here. This program's been getting a lot of attention. I feel like I've seen it in all the different media publications around town, which is kind of cool. So hope we get a lot of participation from young folks. But just to get the conversation started, I've got some questions that I want to ask you guys.
All
So
right.
from the pod
no.
decks. So for Carrie, I'm going to ask you. Now, I don't know you very well at all, so you could say literally anything. This is three things that I might not know about you.
Oh, I think that's a good one for JR.
Actually, yeah, that is a good one. So for me, three things. I have been fortunate enough to travel all around the world with my job. I've been to many different countries.
Your work sends you around?
Yep. Not so much anymore, but when I first started, I was going all over the world, China, Australia, the UK, South America,
fun?
everywhere.
I feel
yeah.
like that would be
Yeah.
the dream, traveling for work, but everyone
Yeah.
who travels for work is like, traveling's fun, but not when you have to, because then you fly in, you do
No,
the
it
thing,
was
and you
fun.
fly right back. You got to
No.
do like vacation-y stuff?
Yeah, I would spend a weekend, do my work, and then tag a weekend or something on and have fun. It was great. Something I always wanted to do as a kid, and I got to do it.
What's your favorite place?
Oh, Sydney, Australia.
Yes.
By far. That's the only place I've been to that I would say I would move there if I felt like I needed to leave the country.
That's a if you felt like you needed to?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a long flight. Okay, so that was one of the things, right?
Yep, that's one. Second one, a lot of people know I play French horn in a volunteer orchestra here in Santa Clarita. But when I was in high school, so I actually picked this up last year after 18 years of not playing. And in high school, I was really good. And I was one of the top ranked high school players in the state of Texas. That's where I grew up. And played a little bit in college, and then just kind of, there weren't opportunities to play after that. So started my career, and here I am.
That's funny. Yeah. About a year ago, I did not know that you played the French horn, and I got to see you play at a recital a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But I was surprised when Josh mentioned that he was starting up a Mission Orchestra, and you signed up. I'm like, since when do you play something?
I know.
18
It
years
was
you haven't
great.
touched it. That's so
I
cool.
was scared to start, but I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to play. This opportunity came up, and I'm like, you know what? Just do it.
And you own a French horn that's just been in the closet
Yeah,
for
it
20
was
years?
in the closet for, probably 15 years, but yeah. I had gotten it a few years after I stopped playing because some friends got it for me. Like, here you go, and hopefully you can play again. I'm like, awesome, I'll do it. And nope. Took a while.
Give me one more.
One more. Oh, what was the other one? Oh gosh. I was on the TV show Wipeout.
Were you?
Nice.
Yep.
When?
Probably, what are we in, 2022 now? It was probably like 2015.
Okay, so it was before we met.
2016, it was a
I'm surprised
while.
you've never
Yeah.
mentioned that. Can we find it online?
Probably not, because I didn't make it very far. I didn't get past the first round, thank God, because it's the most awful experience ever.
Do you
Yeah,
have
my
a copy
friend-
of it?
No, I don't. I have photos, but that's it.
Out of here. Okay.
Yeah.
My friend did that, and he said it was really cold.
Yeah, the water was 44 degrees that day.
Oh.
So
Wait, what? The temperature of the air was, or the water?
the
was?
water.
The water was 44 degrees?
Yeah.
You know, I always wondered, like
Yeah.
when I see American Ninja Warrior, I wonder, like, it's got to be heated, right?
No, very not.
No. And did you shoot in the morning, right?
It was all day,
Oh, okay.
most of the day anyway. But we started at like 6 a.m. and it was out here in Santa Clarita actually, and it was in February, so it was cold overnight, and they don't do anything to heat the water up. It was 44 degrees. So every time I hit the water, it was just like bone chilling. It was bad.
It's for the drama and the flare. You know, you hit the water and you're like,
Yeah.
oh God, I lost.
That just adds insult to injury, though. 'Cause
Yeah.
you
Right.
already got bonked in the face by the
Right.
wall or the
Yes.
giant ball or
And you have
whatever.
so much adrenaline going, so it's weird.
Well, I want to find it. See if you can find like the original air date. Someone's got to have it.
Probably somewhere. Yeah, I haven't looked. It's got to be out there.
My mom was on Wheel of Fortune in 1986, so like 36 years ago, and I have a copy of it, and I actually put it up on YouTube, but and they got taken down because of copyright infringement. But I actually met up with a whole like Wheel of Fortune fan community that like logs every episode and who guessed what letters and how much and everything. Like, and same thing with like Jeopardy and all the other game shows. There's like fanatics that like log everything, and I bet you're on some kind of there's got to be some forum that's got you in there.
I was in for like 2 seconds.
That's super cool. Well, thanks for sharing it. This is going to be yours no matter what. Okay.
I'll do it.
Passing.
This doesn't have to be based on your experiences, but I guess it can be. Give me a couple of mistakes that somebody should avoid in life, whether you've made them or not.
Okay. I think the first most common mistake is people's choice in partners. You know, people will choose partners when they're younger that don't really match like what's going to go the distance. You know, they're going to go for somebody that's like shiny and pretty and like it's exciting, but then you know, through time they wear down. When they go through something like COVID, you know, maybe they don't last through that. So I think finding a partner that's like your best friend that you want to get stuck in the middle of COVID with, or get stuck having 3 kids with, you know, it's a journey. And so you want to be with them. I mean, I choose my kids, but
I was going to say, this sounds like it is based on personal experience.
Oh yeah. He's my best friend.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it came from a good place.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I
thought you were
think,
ready to tell us something.
No. But I think other people, I see other people and I think, you know, oh man, that is not their best friend. And to go through all of that and be in, you know, in life and not have a person that you actually like to be with, that's hard.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really common mistake, going for somebody that you're excited, and you know, I was excited about my husband, but somebody that like is more volatile is what a lot of people seem to go towards. And that isn't always the best option.
Yeah,
for
you're right.
duration.
It's fun at first.
Yeah.
And don't move too fast. Take your time.
Yeah.
Make sure it's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one mistake. Do you have any others?
Yeah. How about, I think it was something that I am like preaching all the time is finding the cheat code for things. So everything in life has like some secret cheat code, and I would ask the expert. So if you have a friend that is in dealerships, working at a dealership, they might know certain things about that dealership, and you'll see it right now online a lot, like the hacks on life. And they'll have things like, oh, if you go to an airline and ask for a certain discount, they'll provide it. You know, discounts are everything's negotiable. Discounts are everywhere. So find the cheat code on what you're doing and be savvy. Do some research about it. Don't just jump the gun on really big purchases without knowing a bit behind it. And try and find cheat codes for everything, even like school or work or paying for objects. Like everything has a cheat code. Find the expert and ask them what the cheat code is for it.
Yeah. Now, for any kids watching, though, we're not saying to find cheat codes for your tests.
Yes.
School.
No. Thank you for that. Yeah. No. Absolutely not. What I'm saying is that, like, you know, when you're at, God, what's a good example of this? If you're at Costco, and I don't know this about Costco, so maybe I shouldn't say this, but if you're at a store, at a big store, and they have like certain percentages that they'll take off on a Tuesday that you didn't know, you'll see that on Instagram right now, like talking about the discounts that you can have if you know what days they have them. Or if you work at a dealership, maybe you can go work at a dealership and get the employee discount and then
quit.
You know, they quit, right? Like there are ways to do things.
There are a lot of these life hacks, but you're right that everything.
Yeah.
You do just ask. So like for airline stuff, I've heard of people just asking to be upgraded, and usually that's not going to work. But it does
Nowadays
work.
it won't.
But it doesn't work if you don't ask.
Yeah. Right.
So it's worth a shot. But there are other things that I've seen. I went home theater shopping with an uncle like, I don't know, 15 years ago. And we went into Best Buy, and he said that the stuff was too expensive and he wanted to pay less. And I'm like, well, it doesn't work like that. This is Best Buy. And he got the manager and he paid less. The manager, you know, he's like, well, this is our price. If we add 15%, so we make a profit, this is what our employees pay for it, but we'll give you that price. Just because he was like just stubborn, you know.
Just because he asked. Some people do cash discounts. So if you pay cash, then you get a discount. Like it really is beneficial to learn about what you're doing and how you can find a better way. And it's not all just with money too. I just can't think of a great example of, you know, other assets of life that if you ask the question, like maybe a class, you know, taking classes in a college that you can ask when you transfer to a new class, maybe they'll show you how your previous classes crossed over. And so some of the credits get waived. So like for example, I have certificates past my graduate school that actually cross over. And I didn't even know that was a thing, but I asked them like, hey, I took classes that are similar to this in my graduate school. And so they asked me to provide the syllabus, and they saw that the classes were similar enough to say that the curriculum was met. So they waived classes. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah,
you know,
I guess so.
Or emergency bills. Like in college, I didn't have any insurance for a short period of time. And I had to go to the ER for some breathing issue that I had. And I got the ER bill, and my grandmother told me, you know, if you ask them, that if you tell them you can't afford it, they'll cut it. And they'll cut a pretty significant chunk off. And they did. They cut it by like 30 or 40%. So
yeah, that's crazy.
I did hear you could do that. Like a friend of mine said that you could do that if you have like let's say a $5,000 medical bill. You could say, look, I don't have $5,000. I can either give you $800 right now and then we're done forever, or I can give you $10 a month for the next 50 years. And they'll pick one of them.
I know somebody that did that with the mortgage.
You could do that with a mortgage.
What?
Yeah. So they owed money on two different, like
tomorrow.
They refinanced their house. And so they had two different loans on the mortgage. And they said, I'll pay off this $150,000 one, but I'm not going to pay you on the $23,000 one. And or you can just, they did after a lot of fighting, a lot of battling of like, this is what I can do. Right. But I mean, like it took a hit on his credit, but he didn't need it at the time.
Oh, he just defaulted on it then.
Right.
Well, no, he didn't have to default. They waived it. But because what he did was he delayed payments and said, I can't pay it. So I'm going to pay this or I'm going to pay that.
Oh,
and so,
I see. So they called to collect and he's like, well, no, I'm not going to do it.
I can't do that, but I can pay you this. Okay. And so they waived the $23,000.
That's great. Yeah.
You know? It's like,
man, the things that they don't teach you in school, which brings us to our.
I wouldn't recommend defaulting.
Yes.
No, well, stuff's a lot more expensive than anybody realizes.
Yeah.
And so you guys decided to put together a program, and it's called Get Real Adulting 101, a teen financial workshop. And these are things that everybody says. They never taught me this in high school. They never taught how to pay your taxes or how to what to do with a paycheck or how much these different things cost. Like we all took high school economics classes, and that was cool because we got to do like the stock market simulation or whatever. Mm-hmm. That was fun. But
this is real life, everyday type stuff that we're trying to teach.
This is based on the things that we all wish that they taught us years ago, mistakes that we've made.
Right.
And so how did this project come about? Whose idea was this?
Well, so it was another JCI member posted about this. There was some public school, Yukon Public School District or something like that. And she shared it on Facebook, and it was this exact same idea. And she said, hey, this looks great. So I saw that and I jumped on it. I'm like, hey, this could be a great JCI project. And Carrie right away was like, oh my God, I would co-chair it with you. So, all right, here we go. So it started like that.
I love when it works out that way. There's so many times when you're like, all right, we have a co-chair for 40 Under 40 or Santa's Helpers. We need somebody else. And it's like no one else wants to do it. And you guys are both so enthusiastic.
Oh, yeah.
And why is that? Is it because you wish that somebody helped you, or because you're both parents and you want kids to just have the know-how?
Knowledge. Yeah. So, I think financial literacy is a huge hot button issue right now that the whole of the United States is caring about. I mean, that's why Florida made it a new law that there needs to be some level of specifically financial literacy that are offered to high school students before they graduate high school. And I think that that's coming down the pipeline in a lot of different high schools and different states. But I think that financial literacy is just so important because I work with high school students all the time and, every day in my job. And a lot of them don't know how much a dollar can take you and what it's going to do for you and how much money you're going to earn doing that thing and what kind of work you're going to need. And they just don't have the idea of like what comes after high school, and then they get hit in the face with it. And I don't want them in debt. I want them to be able to make smart financial decisions that get them in advantages that if they weren't exposed to this or to other financial literacy options, then they wouldn't have that wherewithal,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these kids, these high school students, have like a brand new iPhone and AirPods and stuff that like I don't even get myself, like one every 4 years maybe, because it's expensive.
It's a
Right.
luxury.
And it's hard to know how hard it is to come by $100 or $1,000.
Right.
So how exactly does this program work? Is it like a seminar, or is it like an interactive?
Yeah, so it's like a simulation. If you just think about the game of life, it's like that. We're gonna give the students a salary.
But the untrademarked version.
Exactly. Yes, a salary, a career, and a credit score, and they're going to use that identity to go to visit different booths that where they purchase goods, essential goods that they would need in everyday life, like housing, transportation, childcare, food, that kind of stuff. So they go to each booth, pick out what they want, and so they can realize how much that salary will really take them.
They get to like experience it. How long is this thing? Is it like a couple hours?
So we're going to be there all day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and different schools are going to have different sets.
They come in at different
Yeah,
times.
they're going
Okay.
to have a different sets. But then the student can take as little or as much time as they want in it. And it will depend on like the crowd that we have at the time that they come. So if the student is going through diligently and really looking at their choices, then maybe it could take an hour. But if the student is taking, is going through it and just kind of having fun and isn't like necessarily taking the thought into it that we hope they do, then it might take 20 to 30 minutes. So it varies.
So we're hoping, 45 to an hour.
Yeah.
Is it randomly assigned? Like, do you just say you're a computer programmer, you're a lawyer, or is it based on like, oh, these are your skills? You want to be a doctor? Well, guess what? You just got hit with medical debt.
Yeah. Well, we have 10 identities, 5 that would be a college path, 5 that are a non-college
I love
path.
that.
Do you want to explain how you came up with those?
Yeah, sure. So the names are random generated so that we tried to make it so that it's gender neutral so that whoever gets assigned, they don't feel any sort of way about it. And we choose it based off of college and non-college, and we try to give a variation of each of those. And the idea is not to say that one is better than the other. There's kind of a variation on what kind of money they can make in each of those fields. But it's to show them like, if you're taking a college route, maybe you end up with student debt in this route. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, depending on a partner that you get assigned. So there's variations to just try to simulate real life of what a person would really make. We used all of the salaries. I used ONET to define what an average salary is for each of those jobs, each of those careers. And ONET Online is like a database that the United States has to kind of aggregate all the data from careers and what skills they have and what knowledge they need and what money they make. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, wow.
So I use that to determine what the median salary is for the ages that I'm giving them. So they'll have like their name, their age, their career, if they have a spouse, if they have children, and then like what their deductions are and things like that. And then they'll have space to write in what they're going to be spending at each of the tables. And the game is like, this game has been done similar like this in other places, and it's a lot of fun. We see a lot of students having a lot of fun, and like videos of students responding really well to it. It's just not something we've brought to Santa Clarita. So we had to kind of build it from scratch because we don't have those resources. So it should be interesting, but a lot of fun.
One thing I want to ask you, just because you mentioned that about half of your profiles are the college route and half are not. In like our parents' generation, I mean, I guess times are very different because you could be working at the gas station on the corner as married man with a couple of kids and be able to support your whole family on a minimum wage job. But they were told that, you have to, if you go to college, that you're going to get a way better job. Then I think when I started college, it was basically like, not that you're going to get a better job. It's like, that's the only option. If you don't go to college, you're not going to have a future. And now what I'm seeing a lot more of is that you kind of don't necessarily need it. Like you can graduate from college as a lawyer or a doctor and still get a very low entry level job that's going to take you 30 years to pay off your debt. And you can not go to college and do something on your own and be very successful. And does your simulation always put the college educated students at way higher salaries, or does it vary?
Nope.
No, it varies depending on the situation. So some of them might be lawyers and make a decent amount of money, or like a higher amount of money than what is considered middle class. But then others are, software developers that maybe have a certificate of. But there's other things like in my practice and as a high school counselor, I work to find those cheat codes and I give them to my students because those are cheat codes. It's not the case that a lot of people are going to come out wealthy with not having some experience or some education behind them or networking. Like you have to have one of the things and you have to find the cheat code for it. So you don't just become like a great podcaster with all of this setup without the knowledge, exposure, or networking or experience to get here, and so I think finding the cheat codes help with that, just as a side note. But
I was going to say, podcaster ain't on your list of jobs.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But we have a thing for the JCIs to participate to see what their jobs would be like and run through them, run through their own life to see if the simulation would work for them. But there are things like water systems operator. It's something that nobody knows about, it feels like.
Oh, yeah. No clue what that is.
Right. But you can have a certificate that takes you 6 months to get, and you can be making a median salary of like 70 to 80,000, which, like, to be transparent, as a high school counselor, 7 years into it, and I'm making that. So with $70,000 of debt.
Yeah, it's crazy how many jobs people have. I'd say that most people I know are doing something professionally that they didn't go to school for, right?
Yeah.
Like they've kind of fell into something else. And there's a ton of jobs out there that nobody wanted. Like nobody spends, from the time that they're 7 years old to 12 saying, man, I want to be a water systems analyst or whatever the heck that job was.
Right.
That's something that you just kind of fall into. But meanwhile, all the other jobs are very saturated and hard to get into and maybe don't pay as well. I
do want the takeaway to be, though, that I think that we should say that that with water systems, that's something that you have to have the exposure. Somebody needs to tell you about it. You need to know somebody who did it to find it. So there are jobs out there, careers out there that you can make a lot of money doing, but you have to do the research and knowing and the work and have the work ethic to make those jobs as profitable as a job from a college career. And I say that or from a college education, because with a college education, statistically, you do see an increase in salary pay and a more likelihood of a success with finding jobs, because, there are requirements now for entry level just to have a bachelor's.
Yeah.
So there has to be that match, because being a social influencer is not going to be like the thing for everyone,
Right. Some people do really, really well with it.
Yeah, some people.
Not everybody can do one.
The exception, not the rule.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how, with the way that the simulation works, how do students get involved? And I guess I'll ask you about participation from non-students. But this is for high school or for junior high students?
It's high school students in Santa Clarita. Uh-huh. Juniors and seniors right now is what we're focusing on.
Okay,
yeah.
So they're going to be mostly like 16 to 18.
18, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how do they find out about this? How do they get involved?
We set up a registration page, so they can go onto our website, www.getrealscv.com. Mm-hmm. And there are registration links on there where they can sign up. We're also going to have a flyer that we're going to send out to the schools, and it'll have a QR code on there so they can just scan it and register that way.
Awesome. And how many people are they expected to visit on the day of the simulation? Like how many different booths?
Oh, how many booths?
Yeah.
10 booths. And yeah, we're hoping to have maybe 200 to 300 students there on this first go around.
Ambitious.
Hopefully, yeah.
For a first year.
Not ambitious. We've heard that it might be more.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's been a lot of excitement around this,
Yeah.
so we're trying to be prepared for anything.
How many volunteers do you have?
Oh gosh,
We haven't counted yet, but we're hoping
yeah,
for 45 at least,
at least, yeah. It's going to require a lot of work.
including the tables. And the
Right.
tables are, in case you didn't get a good enough picture of it, like the tables are, there's going to be an entertainment table where the kids get to choose one thing that each of the people in their family are going to choose as entertainment for themselves. And the people behind the table are going to be advocating that they spend too much money. And they're going to be fighting with, okay, well, should I spend that much money like the guy says that I should, or should I be
They're
spending?
like salesmen. They're like, oh,
Yes.
you want to see
Yeah.
Taylor
Yes.
Swift? It's going to cost you $600.
Yeah,
Right.
so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for the students to try and overcome their impulses to appease others and to like take the more expensive route to save their money or to be smart about their money.
Yeah, and we're also going to have unexpected life events in the game. So they're kind of calling them chance cards right now, but that's it's probably trademarked or registered, whatever. So we'll come up with a different name.
We'll call them maybe cards or something.
Something,
Scenario
yeah.
cards.
Yeah, that's better.
And we have 40 different scenarios right now, 20 good, 20 bad, where you will either come into money or money gets taken away. And so
20.
you need to be prepared for that. So you don't want to overspend or get close to coming out to zero, because you might get that card that says, oh, you got to pay $200 and now you're out of money.
Yeah, and the kids won't be faced with all 20 of them. It would just be
Right.
as they're playing the game, they might be approached by somebody in which they
Right.
might get a good thing or might get a bad thing. And I think we're calling them reality checks.
Oh, I like that. That's even better.
That's great. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like 20 good and 20 bad isn't really indicative of life. I feel like there'd be
no.
20 good and like 100 bad.
Probably.
Yeah.
But we don't want to scare the kids just yet.
Right.
Yeah.
How do adults get involved? Are you taking volunteers from the community, or is this just the JCs working on it?
A lot of JCI members, and for the booths, when a business sponsors a booth, then we are asking that they provide 2 to 3 employees or volunteers to help run that booth. So that's going to provide a lot of the volunteers. And then, of course, we have our committee that's working on it that will be there to support. And yeah, we have a volunteer coordinator as well. So she'll be responsible for identifying volunteers, getting them signed up, assigning them to where we need them to be. So yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot.
I do think if we have some excited community members that are financially savvy and wanting to share that wealth of knowledge with students, we are hoping that if they want to attend, they can. What we would suggest is that they get in contact with us on our website. They have our email and they can email us, and then we can get them in touch with a volunteer coordinator to teach them like how they would participate in the game and kind of vet them to make sure that they're there for the right intentions.
Yeah, they're not just there to like hand out their business
Sell
cards.
stuff.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's not what we want.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm imagining like the military recruiters would love to be there. Those guys.
No shade on the military recruiters, we love them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Military recruiters are great. No, but when I was 18, I had this one guy. His name was David Brown from the Navy, and
I hope he's not listening.
he can listen. And he that's why I named him. And he took me down to wherever downtown to take the ASVAB, and I did really well on it.
Oh yeah.
And so he like offered me like all these like college bonuses and sign up bonuses and stuff, and I was like, but I don't know if military life was right for me. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to do a video production. He's like, we have a pathway for that. And I'm like, now it felt like he was trying to sell me something that wasn't quite right. And he had me take a nuclear field test, which I also passed somehow because I was never great with math. And now he wanted me to work on a nuclear submarine for 6 years, doing like some kind of engineering stuff, which might have been great. Maybe I'd have a great job by now. But like at some point I was just like, nah, I don't want to. And so like we didn't talk for a while. And a month later he's like, hey Corin, man, I miss talking to you. We should get together. I'm not going to even mention the military. I just, I miss you and I want to talk to you. And so I met up with him for lunch. And guess what he brought up within a few minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, so have you thought more about this thing? And so that's why I'm thinking like a little pushy.
Yeah, they can be.
But still,
Not,
no shade.
Yeah.
It's, I've got friends that joined the military, and
It's
even a
wonderful
couple
benefits.
that stayed in for
Yeah.
over 20 years.
Yeah, retired.
One of them retired at 38 years old, and he's doing great. I mean, he's got 6 kids now and grandkids, younger than me. But yeah, that's the pathway, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that was definitely a different time. I feel like they're not as pushy now because they don't need as many people. From what I've heard, I feel like that they're a little bit more strict with who they take.
Yeah.
Yeah, different time.
It's kind of a good problem.
Interesting.
I feel like there was some shade directed at how lenient they must have been on the physical standards at the time.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Cool. So where's this going to be? It's going to be here in Santa Clarita, and it's an in-person thing. It's not like a Zoom or a video game, right? Like it's
Correct. It's going to be in person on September 10th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it's going to be at the sports complex on Golden Valley.
Right, by the aquatic center and the skate park.
Yes.
And all that
Right.
stuff.
Yep.
It's called the Center.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
Nice big facility. We're going to have multiple rooms, a big room where all the booths are going to be set up. And then we'll have a couple other rooms where we give the kids the instructions about how this is all going to work out. And then we'll also have a debrief at the end as well. So they can kind of summarize what they learned and also give feedback so we can improve it for next year.
Yeah, and get more resources to find out more about how to be financially savvy.
Does this cost any money from the students?
Nope. It's free.
The schools, like who is funding it?
So we're hoping the city will help fund it. Shout out to the city.
My next question was, this is at a city facility, so are they
Right.
partnering up?
We have requested.
Yes,
yeah.
we haven't heard back yet. But we've just been being able to use our sponsors. So we have sponsors that have paid $200 to take a table and to brand it as they like, but also volunteer to play the game. Mm-hmm. And so they're helping support our cause and support our community by giving back to these students. So if you go and you see those sponsors are the ones that are helping put this on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this an expensive event to put on? Or is it more?
really.
Mainly the venue and a few costs, supplies, like we need to get clipboards and calculators and all kinds of things to have them put it on. But for the most part,
Calculators.
yeah, they'll have cell phones, but
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember in school, even in high school, they're like, no, you cannot use a calculator. You're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket.
Well,
we're not gonna-
yeah,
if
we
they
are.
could see me now,
Yes,
I got
yeah.
a calculator on my watch,
yeah.
right? And my pocket. So it's if you had to pay for the manpower that you've got there, then it would be way more expensive.
Oh my
But
gosh.
Yes.
because you've got, it's very much volunteer powered.
Right.
If you've got like 45 people you're expecting for hundreds of students, that's
For an all-day
that's
event.
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What else do you think people should know about this? What's your goal? What are you hoping that students will leave the experience with?
Yeah, just a realization of how far your money can go. On paper, it might sound amazing that some of these, they're going to have $4,000 to $6,000 a month. And you're like, oh, cool, I can do whatever I want. But then once you start going to the booths and you realize, oh, my mortgage is going to be what? And then you got to go to 9 other places to continue to buy things, then you realize it adds up really fast. So just that realization. So yeah, that's what I'm really hoping they get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you say that, I was thinking we should probably have the mortgage like at the end where they don't even think about it and they spend too much. Anyway.
Do we have like a mortgage broker who's going to be there sponsoring a table?
We have a wonderful
yeah.
realtor that is a JCI member, Josh Sinatra, that is going to be, that's going to be manning the housing booth.
Yep.
So he'll be there to support them as they make their housing choices.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think for me, my biggest thing is that they have a lot of fun and that they have a few. I would like, 2 to 3 takeaways for each student that they walk away with, not having known or not having considered, that maybe keeps with them so that they consider how to better keep their finances when they're older or what kind of real choices they're going to be faced with soon.
Yeah. I saw some of the comments on when the articles went up on Facebook. People responded with, "Is this for adults? Can I do this too?" Because I feel like even people our age are still kind of struggling with that stuff, and they don't understand how they're always like, I make good money, like we make over $100,000 a year, but we're still living paycheck to paycheck. And how can that be when your mortgage or your rent is so low? And it's like, well, yeah, your cable bill might only be $100 a month, but with your Netflix plus the Hulu plus the and the Amazon and all the services together, it's double that.
Yeah, and
then
all your
it's-
coffee in the morning and
Yeah.
your outings. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
Adds up.
that adds up really fast.
Yeah, even a lot of parents these days still don't know about this stuff and how to handle it, and they don't know how to teach their kids. So that's where we step in.
Yeah.
We don't have classes. The parents can't teach it. So where do they go?
That's
Hopefully
a
this
good
is kind of
point.
a starting point.
Yeah.
You just
kind
put
of
it
grow from
together.
there. Yeah.
The fact that one of the reasons that I think students need some help dealing with this stuff is because their parents, who are the ones that are our age, never learned it themselves.
Yeah.
So if the schools are like, well, this isn't something that schools have to teach, their parents should teach them how to do all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the schools are interested. I think that in teaching it, I think that the kids kind of miss it, or the kids aren't super interested in getting it. But this is kind of a fun, interactive way that they don't have the manpower to put on for just a small cohort like this, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I definitely think that it's hard when you're with a high school student that says, you know, oh, this doesn't matter. I don't really care about this. You have to make it this fun and interacting thing. It can't be a worksheet that they get some takeaway. Thankfully you did, but a lot of kids go through that worksheet in economics and say, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then they're faced with it, you know?
Well, that hit me like a ton of bricks. Yeah, I told the story before we started recording about when I was in my high school econ class. The teacher asked us, you know, what are some things that you want when you're older? Do you want to have, do you want to rent? Do you want to own? Do you want to have an electric bill? Are you going to have a cell phone? Are you going to have a subscription to all these different things? And we just like checked a box, yes or no. And it ended up costing way more than any of us thought. Because you think that your salary is a lot, whatever it is, and it's going to get you far, and then it kind of usually doesn't.
Yeah.
So
it adds up
stinks.
really fast.
Yeah.
Are you working with the schools on promoting this?
Yes, the Hart District has been wonderful and encouraging and supporting our endeavor here to get this out to the students. So they came with Carolyn Hoffman has been helping us and spreading the information to each of the schools. So she's been guiding us on what we need to present to them, and wonderful Corin over here is going to help us put on a commercial that will be out to the schools. And yeah, they've been really welcoming to this, and it makes sense. It's a free event for their kids, but I'm glad to have their support for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome because it's not a district event.
Yeah.
And so like
Right.
they could just be like, you know, you're welcome to put it on, but we're not going to promote it for
Right.
you. The
Right.
fact that they are, and you, as you mentioned, they're going to be showing like a video commercial, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because every school in the district at the time, like when I was in high school, we were probably the only school that had like a live daily news broadcast, but all the schools are doing it now, and it's really awesome. It's such a great way to get information out to the students because they can see it, they can hear it, and they see it every day. If they air it more than once, then they'll learn the information.
Yeah, and it sounds like we'll be at the back to school nights as well once we get those dates. So
Yep.
we'll be able to answer those parents any of their questions. And I think the
You'll
parents
actually be
are,
there, like
they said
handing
that
out flyers
yeah,
or something.
yeah. So if we can't be at one of them, they'll be handing out the flyers for us. But we hope to be at the back to school nights. And so far they've given us permission for that. So we're just going to get those dates. But we think that the parents are going to be what drives the students to come, because the parents supporting it and driving them there will be great.
Yeah. Are parents allowed in the room? They could do it with them?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
would encourage that actually.
Yeah.
So do
Yeah.
it together, and hopefully parents can guide them, and it's a teachable moment for
Yeah,
them.
or learn something themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're hoping that the parents, can be there and make note of like, hey, remember this is what you learned here, or hopefully they're not baiting them like, see how much I pay, but
But even
see how much
so,
you cost me.
I support that too.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
kids don't know. Their parents want to give them a good life, and the
Yeah.
parents end up struggling for it.
But we want the students to have like a positive takeaway that they feel empowered about, that they're not being told like to
Yeah.
feel. So hopefully they just
Guilty.
kind of stand back and just like let them have the experience and be there for additional resources and questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. We'll plug the event again at the very end. But I want to ask you guys personally about your connection with JCI Santa Clarita. And I'll start with JR, because you were the first one that I met a couple of years ago. I think I met you when we were filming the promo video for Strength Finders. Was that my first time meeting you?
Oh gosh, yeah. When was that? That was like 2.5 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think so. Was that at the beginning of 2020?
I think so, because I joined December of 2019.
Yeah.
And then started helping out with training and development with Christian.
So
and that was February.
February
right.
of 2020.
Yeah. Oh my
And
gosh.
we met in person. We did this video, and then we met on Zoom a lot
Right. Everything switched over. Yeah, we'll just do a couple of these. No,
So I didn't realize
2 years later.
you had only joined 2.5 years ago. So
Yeah.
you were still a relatively new member. How did you find out about the chapter?
I think it was through Santa Clarita magazine. I'd kept seeing articles about JCI in there, and I just wanted a way to connect to the community. And I'd moved to Santa Clarita back in 2013, and around that time, I just wanted to get out and do more in the community and start to meet more people. And found this organization, and just looked it up online, and saw that they were looking for volunteers for the Santa's Helpers event. They needed people to come to the mall and help sort gifts and wrap and all that stuff. So I'm like, that sounds cool. So I'll sign up, and met a few of the JCs that way that night, and ended up signing up the next day.
So you were lured in with the Santa's Helpers, and then this last year you were one of the co-chairs of Santa's Helpers.
And then, ran the event last year. Yeah,
that's great. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And Carrie, you're a even newer member, right?
Yes, I'm very new.
How
I'm
new?
less than a year old. I joined like last November.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
you join for Santa's Helpers too? Was that
No, but that's how I got to be friends with JR.
Oh.
I joined because when I used to live here, I moved back from Ventura County, and when I used to live here, I was working for the Signal, and I would be at all of the community events, and I saw SCV or JCIs everywhere, and I saw the 40 under 40 and thought, oh my God, they're so cool. I want to be a 40 under 40 one day. And so when I came back, I was like, oh, I want to see what they're about. And like, they do things like Santa's Helpers. And so I want to participate and, make more friendships in the community now that I'm back. And so I got involved, and I started volunteering with JR on his project of Santa's Helpers, and spent like all the time with him. And I came back, and like, I was only volunteering for like an hour or two, maybe every other day or something, for Santa's Helpers. And he was there tirelessly like every night on this project.
All day.
And I thought I was a saint because I had children at home, and including like a baby that was like less than a year old. And so I thought I was a saint for giving like 1 hour. And then I met him, and I was like, oh, just kidding. Okay. So
Yeah, you were there 16 hours a day with
With
two newborns.
Two newborns, yeah.
Yes. 2 newborns that he adopted and fostered. Yes. Okay. And he also worked in cancer research. And I was like, wow, these people humble me every day. And then I met someone else that I can't remember who I was talking to initially, but I was like, oh my God, the people in this organization are just all saints. Like, everyone's worked with Relay for Life and Circle of Hope, and like, donate every ounce of their time to everything, and for what, just because it's fun and energizing. So, so I joined, and I saw that JR was going to have like this project that was coming up, and I love JR. So I was like, yeah, and it's a school event, like with high schoolers. That is my wheelhouse. I can do this.
It's been great having her on this team, because she has that connection, knows people. Yeah.
Well, between the two of you, it seems like your past qualifications and like where your heart is like exactly like would lead you to working together on this.
Yeah. If this is something I wish I had growing up, and I know this is going to be so valuable for kids, and everybody's been validating that. Just when they hear the project, they're excited. The school district is completely supportive. So it's given us the energy to go out there and continue this, because it is a lot of work. I mean, we're constantly texting and calling and emailing all day.
Yeah.
Don't tell my work that. But yeah, it's a lot of work to do this, but it's going to be really, really valuable and rewarding in the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You mentioned what everyone does in the chapter, and you're absolutely right. We had a volunteer that actually helped build a couple of our websites last year, and she joined us for one of the beach days with Brittany. And so I got to introduce her to everybody for the first time in person. And I'm just like, okay, this person runs this magazine, this person works for Senator so-and-so or Congressman whatever, and this person is the chair of this nonprofit and the president of that nonprofit. Like, everybody who is in our chapter is not only doing amazing things in their job, but they're also on like several boards, and working with nonprofits or involved in the government or community somehow. Like, it's really cool community. And one of the things that I hear the old school JCs talk about is might not know everything, and we might not know everybody in town, but you know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who can get the job done.
That's
right?
definitely the case in JCI. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I think my favorite thing about the JCIs, especially since we started this project, was that a lot of the time I've been in corporate positions or like in businesses where you asked to do something that's beyond what your role is, and you get shot down like stay in the box. Stay in the box. You can't do that. There's red tape. You can't do that. And the JCIs are like, yes, and we can do this big project. And what if we did it this way? And they're so validating and energized, and like, they're not here for a job that pays them and they just clock in and clock out and don't care about it. They care about it, and they put all of their energy into it, even though they have babies at home, they have spouses at home. They're still out doing it and trying to make an influence and make an impact, you know? It's amazing. And then they're great to party with too.
All while not getting paid. Like it's the best of all the worlds.
Yep.
It's a great group. Now it's a group that I say this all the time. It's a group that I wish I found earlier in my life, because we have some members that are like in their early 20s, and some of the older members have been in since they were in their 20s. Like they've been in for like 20 years, and they've gotten so much out of it. And being in for like less than a year and 2.5 years, like I'm at almost 5 years. Like I'll say 4.5 years. That's not long enough.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm still, hanging around.
Yeah.
It's such a great group, and it's
only getting better too. Like, we're growing and getting better.
There's always been, like 15 years ago, I started watching the show Boston Legal, and I was working on the DVDs, and I started with season 3, and because that's the one that was assigned to me. And then when I worked on season 2, I'm like, who the heck are all these people? They had like a whole different cast of characters. Like the 3 senior partners at the law firm were the same people, but like new people. Like eventually I watched all 5 seasons, and they had new people every single year. And I actually didn't like that, because I like the consistency of knowing that, like with Friends or Seinfeld, you've got the same people like the whole time. Mm-hmm. And it was it's weird to me to see any kind of turnover. But that is something that I saw within JCI, that there were the people that I met when I first started coming, the 10, 12 active members that we had. Most of them are gone and doing other things. And we got new people, and I'm like, oh, awesome. And I love these people. And a lot of them left. And then so like now we've got some people that are like really sticking around. Mm-hmm. But I actually really love all the new characters that I get to meet now. And so it's a little bit different, because it's a mix. Like we have some of the older people that are sticking around, and the newer people. And I guess mainly most people are sticking around, because our chapter's grown from like 20 people to like 80 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what's so crazy to me is like when I initially came into the JCIs, what I thought it was going to be was a networking group. So I thought that it was just a bunch of people networking, and that I was going to get pitched left and right. And so I was kind of like cards, to my up my sleeve. Like, I'm not sure about this when I initially came in, like expecting to be pitched. And like, I don't know what half the JCIs do, and then not because I'm not invested in knowing, but because we're so hard into this project or at this party playing that we don't even spend the time doing that. So it's amazing to me, because I thought that I would just be approached constantly about like, hey, use me for this or use me for that. And that's okay. But it's when we do it, it's authentic. But for the most part, I don't hear about it. I don't know about it. Like my husband came on a hike with us, and Carlos was telling him all about what he does. Carlos, our treasurer, I didn't even know what he did. Yeah. I didn't even know what he did, and I'm on a committee with him. We spent a lot of time together. I had no idea what he did, and I thought that was amazing, because I'm happy to know what everyone does, and I'm happy to use them, but I just thought that it's not at all what I thought it was going to be.
No, it's not. It's not pushy like that, and that's something that I learned from Neil on our very first podcast episode. He said, the JCI is basically whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And it can be whatever you want it to be, which sounds to me like the military recruiter telling me, yeah, you want to do that? We got to wait for that. But the truth is with JCI, if you're interested in networking, there are some people that come to just the chat and chills or whatever, and they talk about what they do, and they're handing out business cards or whatever. But that doesn't get you very far, because it's all about like once you've worked with somebody, now you have like a real relationship. So if you want to be here for the networking, you could totally do that. If you're in it for the professional training and development, we do that every month. You could just come to those if you want, and you can get a lot of value out of that. If you just want to put on the big events, the 40 under 40, Santa's Helpers, Pack the School, Get Real. You could do that. You could put on these big flagship events if you want to do fundraising. What else is there?
A lot of resume building, I feel like, because like the things that you can say, like I can say, oh, I'm on a co-chair on this event. And then,
If you've never had management experience, you're going to be a manager of something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I got in it, I was only expecting to help coordinate the training, but attend them myself to learn stuff for my job. I did not expect to be leading committees and was on the board last year for JCI. Didn't expect any of that to happen.
And making friends and having
and
play
making
dates.
friends, of course. Yes.
And you actually brought in people that, by the way, that is critical. I will say that the people in JCI have become my core group of friends.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
When you were VP of Training and Development, you actually brought in somebody who did training for you when you were at your former employer.
Right. Yeah. She was incredible. That was her job back when I was with Johnson & Johnson. And she was a corporate training. I don't know what her title was exactly, but she did a lot of these different training events for our company. And I brought her in and I said, hey, do you do training outside of work? She's like, yeah, I do this stuff. I have my private company. And she consults and does stuff outside of her job. I was like, oh, that's great. So we brought her in and did one of the trainings that she did for our work.
Yeah, I actually, she did a TED Talk. I watched her TED Talk.
Right. Yes, that's right.
And she does all kinds of training. And so it wasn't all like, resume building type stuff. You've brought on other trainers, like we had a cooking one.
Right. That year I was trying to be very, I didn't want to do just one particular thing. I wanted to branch out and have life skills as well. And so that's what we called it. And we had a cooking class and online, had to be Zoom, unfortunately. And Corin was having a grand old time.
That was one
there.
of the most stressful experiences of my life. Everyone was
so
making
behind.
scones and frittata or whatever, right?
There was all this prep work we had to do before the class, and he didn't know that.
I didn't read the instructions. I'm lucky that I had all the ingredients, and so everyone's.
You didn't read the email.
Well, so what everyone else did, it was they already poured everything. They already had a cup of this and a teaspoon of that or whatever, ready to go. And so I'm putting stuff together, and I'm looking at the iPad with 30 people on there, and they're all moving on, and I'm freaking out. And so I went and I woke my brother up. It was 11 something a.m. And I'm like, I need your help. Everyone's 10 stops ahead of me, and I can't do this, and this is really pissing me off. And our instructor or somebody, it might have even been JR, said,
I was like, Corin, we can hear you.
You're not
he was so
mute.
frustrated. They're all ahead of me. Hey, Corin.
But that is absolutely the heart of dating the JCIs. Maybe it's that we're competitive. It doesn't serve you to be on it or ahead of it. What did it matter? It was a free training.
Well, you did have to keep up because baking.
That one wasn't free.
Baking.
Oh, that one wasn't free. Oh, okay.
But I don't cook much. I tried to a couple of times, but I'm not good at it, and I don't enjoy it. And I tried, and the food came out good.
Yeah.
Boy, was that stressful.
Yeah.
You
should know that at brainstorming, people were talking about that, wanting to bring it back. So, yeah.
It was really cool. And I looked her up to see, I just wanted to take my own class with her. And I think maybe pandemic, she didn't make it through, but I couldn't find her company online anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That sounded really bleak.
I know.
Yeah. Well, when you start a training company, it's especially for something like that, people want to do it in person.
Yeah.
But how would we have all done that in person? We don't have 20 stoves and.
Well, they actually have places. We went to a place called Heat Culinary in Carpinteria, and they had stoves in the middle, on the islands, and we went around kind of in a team, prepping and cooking our own dishes, in pairs of maybe in 2 pairs, so 4s. And then 4, and then 4, and then 4, and then we cooked on a dish, and they were assigned this part of it, and we were assigned this part, and we swapped, and it was pretty cool.
Do you enjoy cooking?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I cook.
I hate it.
Really? All 3 of us?
Yep.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I used to cook, but I can only cook Cuban food and breakfast. And my husband does all the cooking because he's picky.
You do Cuban food?
Yeah, that's all I learned how to cook.
Oh, that's cool. It sounds tasty.
Yeah, it is. I'll make it sometime. He won't like it, but you can eat it.
Oh.
Yeah, and my kids eat it.
Maybe. What's an example of a Cuban thing?
Like we make picadillo, which is like ground beef and tomato sauce. It's just it's heavy, and we're trying to like eat less red meat and stuff like that.
Oh man, I've been eating more meat, less carbs.
Oh yeah, we make everything with white rice. Yeah. you can't do that. You can't take that out.
I'll eat the picadillo though.
Yeah, okay.
Did I say it right?
Yeah. Have you ever gone to El Cubano? It's in Santa Clarita. It's like right next to Quicho's. I'm just name dropping everything.
No.
The El Cubano is a great Cuban restaurant. You should try their food.
I'm kind of afraid of new things. I went to a restaurant once that was supposed to be Mexican, but it turns out it was El Salvadorian, and they had slightly different food.
Very different.
Yeah, it was a real bait and switch on Yelp, I think.
No, I will tell you that I'm a very Cuban food snob, and that's a great place. That's a good one.
El Cubano.
Yes, they have amazing food, especially if you like meat.
I do.
Yeah, they have like lechon asada. It's like pork, and it's a great. We'll talk about it.
I want to go to real Cuba one day too.
Yes, me too. That's on my goals list for sure.
Well, I should have asked you the bucket list question.
That's what I was going to do. Oh, yeah. Not that we saw the questions ahead of time.
No, well, some. Okay, so just to wrap things up, we've got the simulation that's going to show high school juniors and seniors how to basically like plan for their life, as far as like education and finances,
budgeting,
and budgeting, and they can sign up for this. It's completely free, and the website
getrealscv.com. Or if I'm older, I'll say www.
Hey.
we don't need the triple dubs anymore.
Getrealscv.com.
Wow, just called me out there.
Oh, because you said you gave the triple dubs.
I was so surprised when he did it.
I still like him because I feel like if you just say getrealscv.com, people are like, what is that? Is that a website?
Yeah, I feel like I was preparing you. Get ready, www. You better get that pencil out.
You missed the HTTP.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Colon / / don't say backslash because the name backslashes. Well, I had a blast talking to you guys. JR, Carrie, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's you guys are fun to talk to too. I'm really looking forward to the program.
Okay.
September 10th.
September 10th.
Yes.
You're going to be there and check it out? You're going to videotape it?
I will check my calendar.
That would be
Okay,
nice.
cool.
To
I'd
have
like
a
to be there.
videographer there.
Yeah, we'd love that.
Get some testimonials from the kids or something.
Yeah, well, and yes, I bet you'll get a lot of angry kids like, I don't want to pay my childcare. It's
Yeah.
going to be great.
Like that. Yeah. How do you think your parents feel?
Yes. They're going to be like, that kid can go take the bus.
Yeah,
That's what they're
right.
gonna say.
So getrealscv.com with the triple dubs and HTTPS, whatever. So this is Secrets of Tomorrow's Leaders. My name is Corin Young here at RK Studios for JCI Santa Clarita. Thank you all for listening. If you like this podcast, please leave it a 5-star review. If you got some value out of it, share it with a friend. And we are available on all the podcast platforms.